This podcast is for entertainment purposes only and does not constitute professional advice. The views, thoughts, and opinions expressed are the speaker's own and do not represent the views, thoughts, and opinions of their affiliated organizations.
Okay. Hey everyone, how's it going? I'm Ryan.
I'm Lisa.
And I'm Heather.
And this is Ready to Connect. Today, we first of all, we just want to say thank you for listening to the podcast and tuning in. Today's episode, we wanted to dive deeply onto what the psychic senses are called, the clairs. But today we're going to dive more deeply into clairvoyance, which we'll talk more about that in a second. But before we dive deeply into that, though, let's discuss. Did anyone have any fun plans that they did over the weekend? Anything exciting? What did you do outside the metaphysical world?
Go ahead.
Well, for me, it was a pretty chill weekend. You know, my husband and I, we spent time just in the yard, did a lot of reading. I think I already shared that I am an avid reader. I really enjoy reading. So I finished 3 books, not start to finish, but I finished 3 books over the weekend. But yesterday was probably my most fun day so far, aside from this, of course, which is I got to babysit my grandson.
Nice.
And I don't know if I've told you this, but he is quite the genius. He's only 3 weeks old, and he can say grandma. At least I hear it anyway. His soul speak. But I had a lot of fun. As soon as my daughter left for her appointment, my grandson just treated me to just a plethora of his skills, such as loaded diapers, hiccups, spit ups. But the best part were the smiles and the cuddles. So when people tell you the best part about, you know, your children is the fact that you might get grandchildren, it's really pretty cool. But yeah, that was probably my most shareable moment, I would say.
Nice.
How about you, Ryan?
Let's see. Well, I got to go to a graduation party over the weekend for my friend's son who just graduated high school, and it's incredible to think that I remember him when he was born and now seeing him graduate high school, and then I'm just like, wow, we're
old.
Yeah, I was like, where did the time go? Like,
Yeah.
I was like, how are we like close to 20 years later? How did that happen? But it was exciting just to, well, also rewarding, you know, to see him so happy, and also to see some people that I haven't seen in close to 20 years as well. So that was exciting too, just to catch up with some people that I didn't know if I was going to see again. So it was pretty cool.
Do you get the thing, oh, you haven't changed a bit?
Sometimes.
Well, at my age, haven't changed a bit. Seeing someone from high school would be like pretty cool.
Yeah. Yeah. How about you, Heather?
Oh, I had a delightful weekend. Went out to Bigelow Hollow in Union, Connecticut, and with my daughter, and we were floating around looking at the clouds. And one of my favorite things to do is just look at the formations of the clouds, see the shapes, see the whatever's coming through, and just be in that meditative state. And it was really cool. We were kind of drifting around, and like we saw a heart, and we actually had just finished like this heartfelt conversation, so it like was right on cue, and like saw a dragonfly cloud, and it was so fascinating because you see the dragonfly cloud, and then like a few minutes later some dragonflies came over and landed on the kayaks and was just kind of hanging with us. And
Wow.
so we're all so connected, but just to detox and unwind and just be in nature is pretty rewarding for me. So it was really nice just using that kind of psychic gift, but not having to put it anywhere else other than like, oh, that's cool.
Oh, that's awesome.
So yeah, there's a lot of people out there that can look at clouds and see shapes and see, messages from beyond, I suppose, in the cloud formation.
Well, seeing things like that, actually that would roll right into our topic of
Ties right in.
clairvoyance and being
Yeah.
able to see. Clairvoyance is one of those psychic skills that actually Heather primarily uses when connecting with spirit when we do our work together. So she would be the one to definitely share the most as far as experience when it comes to clairvoyance. But clairvoyance is a clear seeing, whether you see spirit right in front of you, shadow figures, or in the third eye vision, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And it can happen in any form and it can happen at any time. And there's the good side of clairvoyance where you see perfect images or shadows or lights, right? Um, and there's also the not so fun part because sometimes the energy can't be gathered enough for them to form a perfect human or a perfect animal, where you might see a droopy face or you might see limbs missing and they're just using enough energy in the room to try to present themselves to you.
Or just shadow.
Or just shadow.
Shadow.
And one of the things we like to talk about is gray, white, and black are the easiest colors to see when we close our eyes. So out of our peripheral vision, sometimes we will catch those shadows. And one thing I've noticed out in kind of public view is a lot of some ghost hunters, I'm not going to say all, view gray, black matter as negative or
Yeah.
Evil.
or I think I've heard the word demonic a few times.
Oh, wow.
And I really want to step back and address that because it's an easy color to form. And if that's all the energy they can gather, I want to take the dogma out of like being scared of that because if you see the black shadow, how wonderful it is that spirit's connecting with you instead of automatically going to it's demonic, it's evil, it's negative. I don't like those words because if you're asking for the highest good, they're clearly going to come in and try to give you a message. And so it's important to remember to just be for a few minutes, take a breath, and you'll find that something, you'll see something that really comes through with that and not be so scared. But of course, being clairvoyant can be scary because sometimes they do pop right into your peripheral and you're like, whoa, hold on, you're in my personal space.
Yeah.
Take a step back. But it's no different than in the human world where when you're excited to see somebody, you want to hug them, you want to be in their space, and spirit will do that, whether they're related or not. They're going to want to be in your space. So sometimes they get a little close to you and you're like, hey, so you kind of do the pull back. But there's,
And if you're not used to being clairvoyant,
yes,
that's not my main gift when I do psychic work is to be clairvoyant. And I think that's another, the word clairvoyant is often misused too. So just to get that out of the way, a lot of people just term all psychics as clairvoyant. They think that's an interchangeable word.
Right.
And it's not. I'm a psychic, but I'm not clairvoyant. You're psychic. But I don't think your main gift is clairvoyant, as I can remember. But she is psychic and she is clairvoyant, and that's the predominant gift that comes through for her. But for me, not being normally clairvoyant, when I see spirit, it can startle the crap out of me. Not scare me, but just like, whoa, okay, right there. And that's another thing too. The vision of spirit doesn't stay for a very long time.
That's a good point.
If you're clairvoyant, you also have to be pretty quick on gathering as many details as you can. So almost like a detective when you come to, a scene, gathering as much detail as you can out of it. It's one of the things that an activity we use to strengthen people's clairvoyant skill.
Has just random question here. Has there ever been, like Heather, I guess we could ask you, has there ever been a time where it was like most shocking or, something that you were just...
I think the most shocking for me was when I went, I don't even remember the location, but I remember the feeling and I remember what I saw is I walked into an open field that was part of a park and there was an army waiting for me.
Oh, really?
And it wasn't Gettysburg. Like I've been to Gettysburg and that's quite often happens down in Gettysburg. You can see the soldiers walking through the property and stuff like that. But this was local. Actually, I believe it was Nathan Hale in Coventry.
Yeah.
Walking behind the property, you walk through the field to get to the back of that property, and literally saw the like a whole army waiting to talk to me, like where they wanted me to go, where they wanted me to be guided to see things. It's quite fascinating back there. There's a lot of lot of history back there. So to have the soldiers come forward, and they were all in full uniform, and they were ready to protect and ready to guide. And so when you see a whole army loaded and ready, you're like, okay, hold on a second. We're at peace now. You know, we don't need to be at war, but they want to talk about their story.
Wow.
And so that can be overwhelming when you have multiple entities that really want to get your attention.
Yeah, but you also had an overwhelming experience that I remember that you experienced down by where your boyfriend lives with that one spirit of a young lady who had passed.
Yes.
And this happens often because our light is on, so to speak, or we're open. Anyone who's open, you know, you can get visited by people who just need to finish out something or get a message through, and sometimes it comes across as very desperate. You know, for me, I would feel that. But because in that area Heather was there, this young lady gravitated to her in desperation to give a message, and sometimes it won't let up until that message is given, and that was your experience too.
And that's exactly what happened. Unfortunately, this young lady was shot right at the end of the road of where Kyle lives. And it was almost like she was frozen in time. Her soul was frozen in time right in that very spot. So every time I'd have to pull down the driveway or go for a walk, I was confronted with this soul that just felt stuck right there. And she wanted me to get a message to her parents. And this is where, as a psychic, I don't cross boundaries. I won't just walk up to you and start giving you a message. That's unfair. You didn't ask for a message. It's none of my business to even engage in that kind of activity. And she was desperate to tell her parents certain things, and I didn't know what to do. I ended up talking to Lisa about it. I ended up talking to several other friends who have gifts as well, and we really couldn't come up with a solid answer. So because the message was so urgent in my mind, and I could see she really just needed that message to be, and it almost felt like her soul was just kind of stuck there, and I didn't want that for her. As a healer, you don't want them, you want them to be able to go to heaven and evolve in that spiritual aspect. So I wrote a letter. And I didn't write what the daughter wanted to say. I wrote a letter stating, this is who I am. This is what I do. I have a connection with your daughter who has crossed or passed only because I'm directly affected by it from where I was. And if you'd like to hear those messages, call me. And I mailed it. And I let it be because you don't want to scare anybody. If they want those messages, great. And then later on, I would say almost a year later, the mother did come to me, and I was able to pass those beautiful messages. In the meantime, though, I worked really hard using Reiki energy and obviously the power of prayer to help her not feel stuck in that spot so that she could be at peace, because she was tragically ripped away from this. And so you can drive down the driveway, you can walk by that spot now without any like reaction of her trying to get your attention that she has something to say. And so it was really relieving to be able to eventually give those messages. And the father didn't want to hear them, the mother did. And that's all that matters. She can convey it.
Yeah, that'll happen where in a family you'll have one parent, let's say, or one partner. I'm very open, want to receive, and the other one like, no, not. And you have to respect. You know, just because we can perceive and give messages doesn't mean you do. And you never poke psychically to get a message if you're not asked to. It's a matter of privacy, you know?
But there are times where I see things or hear things, and I just build them into a conversation.
Yeah.
I don't actually say that it's coming from your deceased husband or your daughter or anything like that. You just build it into a conversation. One of my favorite experiences was I was at ShopRite on senior discount day, and there was this elderly woman in front of me, and she was unhappy. You could feel it, you could see it. She was absolutely unhappy. And then her husband came through and started talking to me. And he's telling me how they owned a Jeep and how their favorite song was the Andrews Sisters, Three Jerks in a Jeep, and today was their anniversary, which now makes so much sense that she wasn't just angry at being at the grocery store, but she was feeling the loss of her husband because it was their anniversary. So I decided, because it was a long line, that I was just going to engage with her and see if I could make her smile. And I did. I said, "Hey, I have one of those fancy radios in my truck. Do you have one of those in your car?" And she was like, "No." And she kind of looked at me like, "Why are you talking to me, lady?" And I was like, "Oh, I have this fancy radio in my truck where I can put on any kind of music I like, want to listen to." And I said, "I happen to love the genre around 40s and 30s and 40s and 50s kind of music." And she was like, "Yeah, that's nice." And I said, "You're never going to believe the song I heard today." And she was like, "What?" And I said, "Three Jerks in a Jeep." And all of a sudden, she froze.
Wow.
And you could feel her almost effervesce, right?
Yeah.
Like she just became so uplifted. And then she was able to tell me exactly what the husband was telling me, that it was their anniversary. They had a Jeep. They had best friends that they used to go out in this Jeep. Today's are, and you make someone's day. But I didn't at no time did I say, "Oh, your dead husband just did that to
And I
me."
think
You probably get a different reaction.
I think sometimes some of the TV shows that are out there, and with psychics and stuff, it gives the impression that all we do is walk up to people and say, "Hey, your Uncle Joe's here and needs to tell you something," and like without even being asked for that. And to be honest, I believe in order to film that, they need to get a disclaimer from the person they're walking up to anyway to be filmed. So it's not 100%. Like it's totally random.
Right.
But yeah, we don't do that. And I think the majority of psychics don't walk up to somebody and say, "Hey," kind of thing. "I don't know you, but I don't think that happens."
Right.
It is uncomfortable, especially if they have such a deep-rooted personal message that they're trying to, they want to give you.
Right.
And Lisa and I have been blindsided with people who have just walked up to us and given us messages, and it was the wrong.
We were in a funeral once.
Really?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, we don't need you to come up and tell us anything about our business or anything like that.
Really?
Yeah. And we were at a fair once where someone decided that they were going to channel something, and right before her and I were going to, begin this fair, which normally when we do fairs, we do about 14 to 25 readings in a day.
Wow.
So having someone come to you and kind of impose them picking your brain and then giving you all those messages, it was really overwhelming. It was not the right place. It was not the right venue. So it throws you off a little bit, and you have to kind of refocus, reground, and take a deep breath and say, "Okay, thank you for the message, but I need to do I need to do what I signed up to do here, and that's psychic readings."
Yeah.
Wow.
So so we really teach in our classes, as you know. We don't walk around just walking up to people. We just don't do that. If you want to make an appointment, we're gladly to give you everything we possibly can.
It's an ethical thing, I think.
Yeah.
It's an ethical thing.
Yeah.
But so when we have spirit that shows up clairvoyantly for Heather, see it, hear it, kind of thing. I do want to. She mentioned something about seeing spirit in the periphery, and I would garner a bet that most people have seen something in the peripheral vision and think they see somebody or something there, and they turn to look and nothing's there. There is science that backs that. In your eye, you have rods and cones, and I believe it's the rods that pick up the dim light and the cones that pick up the brighter light. So your rods can see that not so bright light, dim, less detailed version, and the way that the light hits the eye and the rods, they can see that. But as soon as you turn your head, the cones take over to get the bright light, and that's gone. Wow. And I believe that's how that works, but it has to do with the physiology of the eye with the rods and cones in the periphery.
I kind of wonder too. So people with poor vision, do they see it differently? Or, I mean, I have astigmatisms in both of my eyes.
I only have it in the left.
Oh, okay.
Yay.
Am I going to see it better or differently?
So you have really bad vision like me. People with poor vision, I don't think that matters so much. But people with poor vision are able to see the energy of aura easier.
Okay.
So I'm not a clairvoyant as Heather is to see spirit typically, I mean, like that. But I am auric sighted in that I can see people's aura. And the easiest way for me to do that is to take my glasses off and, use my, what I call piss poor vision. And then I will notice auras.
My favorite part of Lisa is when she does look at an aura, when she's asked to, the glasses come down like the teacher look, and she's looking over you, and you're like, oh yeah, you're looking.
When I was teaching, when I had a classroom, auric vision came in very handy for me. And when we say we see people's aura, which is a clairvoyant skill, you're basically seeing the energy that's being portrayed through them because of their mental, emotional, and physical state at the time. So no matter what given time, the aura can change in color based on what's happening in that person's life at that moment. Aside from what is called a primary aura color, which is a color that's always there, and that speaks to that person's personality. So if I look at someone and say, hey, you have an orange primary color, that's going to mean that you're very social, very creative, that kind of aspect. If it's primarily green, then you're more into nature. You like to do things with your hands, or maybe you're a healer. If you're blue, then you're very black and white. You like rules and order and stuff like that. But you're very calm and peaceful as well. But the auras that I was seeing in children would be a reflection of what they're doing at the moment. So if somebody was acting up, let's say, and I was to like give the teacher look, which was over the glasses like this, and just look at them and pick up on the colors, I can tell if they're acting up just because they're being what we call playful, or if they are frustrated because they don't understand what the work is. And that helped me help them better. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So when I look at people's aura, it can change color based on what's happening. So it's sort of like a fingerprint in energy for that given time, because nobody's auras are the same either. So as we sit here, and we're, doing this podcast, if somebody was to get a text message of dire emergency, their aura might be peaceful in the moment that we're doing this podcast, or it may be yellow because they're intellectually engaged in what they're doing. But as soon as they get something of emergency, that aura is going to immediately change because now their mind's thinking of something else, and maybe some emotions have come into it.
Wow.
Yeah.
And Ryan, one of the things we had talked about recently was, do you see color?
Yes.
Right?
Yeah, color, shapes, or other
Yes.
images too.
And
So-
it really does happen. You don't necessarily see a person sometimes. Sometimes it's an orb, or sometimes it's a flash of color that comes across maybe your third eye when your eyes are closed, or even when you're looking at someone, a flash of color may appear. There's different ways to do the clairvoyancy, which
Right.
some where you can see into the future, where that vision gives you the future, which hasn't happened. So it's not going to make sense to somebody when you're telling them about it. And then there's other ways.
Yeah, there's past events, and also not just colors but you can see symbols too, right?
Yes.
So I just find that so fascinating that you could just pretty much see anything.
One of the really beautiful things that happened when I was attuned to Reiki was my symbols showed me their colors.
Oh, wow.
So like when I do Reiki, when I enact Reiki and I draw my symbols, they are almost like a neon light. They
Oh,
turn that color. It's very vivid.
That's
It's very bright. And I know that connection between the physical world and the spiritual world has been made.
Yeah.
The doorway's been open. So it's
Huh.
very cool. So yes, you might not see the actual person. You may see an orb or a color or a symbol, and a lot of times with healing, you'll get healing symbols that person needs to work with. And that's very much a psychic voyant ability.
One of the entryways to knowing you're clairvoyant is noticing a very simple way is if you're seeing certain angel numbers all the time.
Oh, okay.
So if you
Yeah.
see 444, no matter what, or if
333.
you're always waking up at 235, 230,
Yeah.
or you notice those numbers on license plates all the time, the same numbers again and again.
Yeah.
That is the beginning of an awakening of your clairvoyance, it's said.
Wow.
So your inner self, your guides are directing your vision in a certain way for you to get a message. So clairvoyance doesn't necessarily have to be spirit forming in front of you. Whether they're fully formed, misshapen, or whatever, or a shadow, it can be those things, like you said, a symbol. And actually, you have your own experience because another part of clairvoyance is that third eye vision, where things present itself sort of like a movie screen in your head. And didn't you have that experience too?
Yeah. So, which thank you for bringing that up. I do have permission to share this story. Yeah. So there was a time where, so my roommate, her family lives in South Carolina, and her father passed away over a year ago. And basically, she was on the phone with her mother, just discussing. And I wasn't listening to the conversation. I was on the other side of the apartment, but I knew she was on the phone with her mother. And then I randomly got the vision of green curtains, and at first I was thinking like, oh, Wizard of Oz, like, I don't know, but then I randomly asked, I was like, has anyone gotten green curtains or know anything about it? And then my roommate was like, oh, hold on. And so she asked her mother, and her mother's like, what? I just bought green shower curtains. How does Ryan know that? Because it's all the way in South Carolina. And come to find out, at that moment they were discussing how her mother was kind of feeling down, that she felt like her husband wasn't around. And I said, okay, well, see that as a sign that he's not only saying hello, but that he's here to see the day-to-day decisions. And he's also giving a thumbs up on the green shower curtains. So that's great.
That's great.
But other things I've seen too is I've had my sister, she'll pop up mostly in times when it seems like, not only has she, when I was a kid, she would show up in dreams all the time. And that's when I see her mostly, which I know we'll probably talk about that too, about dreams. But I see her in waking life at times when there's something intense going on. And she's just showing up with a smile, being like, hey, you got this. Like, don't worry about it. So, yeah.
It's probably important for the listeners and viewers to know that your sister has passed away.
Oh, yes. My sister passed away a long time ago. Yes.
I think that was kind of obvious, but you never know.
Thank you for the reminder.
Yeah. It's interesting. So you talked about dreams.
Yes.
Dreams is definitely a clairvoyant activity.
Same with clouds. Seeing pictures in the clouds. It's
Yeah.
a very voyant
Yep.
premonition, vision.
One of the more famous clairvoyant or precognitive dreams out there is connected to President Abraham Lincoln. I don't know if you know this,
really?
but he was thought to have been given premonitions of his own assassination.
Wow.
And
I always thought it was the wife that was very connected to psychics, and she...
It was him. He was having his
Oh,
precognitive
wow.
dreams. I was just reading about this actually yesterday.
It's fascinating.
And he had his own precognitive dreams, and it was said there was some sort of account of him walking through the White House and hearing things like the president's dead, like a clairaudient moment even, and not sure what was going on. Like he had these like premonitions of people running around and hurrying, and then he had an actual dream about his own assassination that is happening in the theater, and he finally told his wife and other people about it. And
Wow.
it's one of the more well-known things out there.
That's fascinating.
But you've had your own dreams too,
Yes.
connected with your
Yeah.
yeah
Not only connected with my sister. When I was a kid, it was like as if we were growing up together. So she would pop into different dreams here and now, being like, oh, keep going with music, keep doing this, or we're just hanging out type of thing. So it was pretty cool because she passed away when I was 6. So it's been a long time that she's been in and out of my life. So it's been nice when she's popped in. But then also I've had other relatives too who I haven't even met because they passed away before I was born, and they would just be giving random messages to give to my grandparents, things like that. So that was pretty interesting. There was one time in particular, I think it was my great uncle. I don't know exactly how he is in the family, but he showed up in a dream, and he said he was showing me that in our great grandmother's house there was going to be like a door to walk through, and it would be a secret room, and something had to be found there. And so I told our grandmother at the time, and I was like, when you go visit her, the great grandmother's house, you might find something. And so she's like, okay, because she fully believes. She's like, all right, we'll go see.
They find a secret room?
They found a secret room.
No way.
They actually did. They opened up the door, and it was funny because in the dream, I remember it was Uncle Eddie. That's all that I knew him as. I never met him, but I knew him in the dream as Uncle Eddie, and I was able to pick him out in a photo afterwards. I was like, yeah, that's him. In the dream, Uncle Eddie and I, we were saying, it's dark in here. We need a flashlight or something. And when my grandmother was trying to go through this room, she's like, wow, it's really dark in here. I need a flashlight. And I was like, I kind of told you were going to need that.
Yeah.
But they didn't know what they were finding, but what they did find was a picture that one of our cousins had created, like a drawing, when he was a kid. And so they brought that home and framed it. And so they thought, okay, well, I guess this is what we'll find.
It's a memory to have,
So,
right?
yeah, absolutely.
That's a treasure.
So, yeah,
For sure.
Yeah, treasure. Yeah, but it was just so. My grandmother and I were always laughing about that. It's like, yeah, it's kind of dark in here. You need a light.
These dreams can be very precognitive of what's about to happen, and it can give you a heads up. Some of them, though, are very symbolic. I've had my own experience, and actually, just recently, it came sort of true. And when my mother passed away, a few months after she passed away, at the memorial's done, I had a very vivid dream of me in the upstairs of my house and hearing noise down at the bottom stairs, and I'm at the top of my stairwell where all the bedrooms were in a colonial upstairs. Mm-hmm. And I see my mother, plain as day, come around and walk up, and in my dream I'm like, oh my God, Mom, you're alive. This is amazing. You're alive. I'm so excited.
Yeah.
And she didn't say anything. She just started walking up the stairs, and my daughter comes out of the bedroom behind me, which used to be her bedroom. Mm-hmm. And she says, what's going on, Mom? And she says, Grandma, look, Grandma's alive. And she was walking down the hallway, and she goes into a bedroom that used to belong, that my younger son used to use. And she shut the door. And so my daughter and I walked up to this door, the bedroom door. We opened it, and we looked inside. There was a bed with a baby, just a baby. And I remember waking up and thinking, my mother's trying to tell me she's going to come back into our family as a child, as a baby of either, and I didn't know if it would be of my younger son, Kevin, or for my daughter, Kelly. Mm-hmm. Well, my daughter just had a baby, and the baby was born on my grandmother's birthday. On my mother's birthday, her grandmother's birthday.
Wow.
So
That's
this baby
incredible.
and my mother share the same birthday, and not for one moment don't you think that didn't escape me or anyone in my family that this child was born on my mother's birthday. So I'm of belief that this child has a piece of her soul, piece of her energy, and we'll have to see as it develops. Does he become, because she was an artist, does she become very creative? And she was also very scientific, a little bit like me, back and forth. So it should be interesting.
Wow, that's incredible.
Yeah. So, that dream is very symbolic, and you have to kind of think about it, not as literal as finding a door, needing a flashlight, finding a treasure, but still very the same. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So whether you see spirit plain as day, like Heather does, shadows in the periphery, third eye visions, symbols, clouds, or dreams, or see aura, it's all clairvoyance. All clairvoyance.
Yeah, and once again, it's nothing to be afraid of. Like, even in dreams, like, there might be some people who are like, oh, I don't want to see anything. I mean, is there anything that we could say to that too? Like, it's not.
Yeah,
it's
I
not
mean, there's
anything.
people that have nightmares, and unfortunately, they're nightmares,
right?
Because nightmares happen. There's a real side of life where everything isn't unicorns and rainbows, right? So,
right.
Some people do have the dark, clairvoyant dreams where they see tragedy or death or unkind things, and you have to put it into a positive spin somehow. Like, be grateful that even though this is a tragic moment you're witnessing, that not that you could stop the not that you could stop it, but maybe you put a prayer out there to like maybe fill the void with some positive energy, or just put prayer out there. And it doesn't have to be religious. Prayer doesn't always have to be like, you know, in one secular religion, just something to give somebody hope. Like, I hope this comes, this tragedy brings something positive, or right, we back to unity, because our we need to be united,
Right.
so it's important. But yeah, there's really real things out there that are just not so great, like the young lady who was shot right at the bottom of the road.
Right.
Tragically, she lost her life, but you try to put prayer there, and you try to make it a positive thing just so you have some closure. um
I think also people have fear
Fear.
around this.
Yes.
You know,
Yes.
if you ask for the highest good to happen in your day and you ask for that type of protection, which we do every day, that's what's going to happen. Um, you know, I have never myself in any of the paranormal investigating or any of the readings we've done or anything like that have come across what I would consider demonic or evil. I know people who have done evil things. I think evil's more of a behavior than an actual person.
I don't believe anybody's born evil. I believe life shapes you into that circumstance.
I have had friends that are shamans that said, no, I've come across demons and stuff like that, but I never have. And I think it's what you welcome into your life, maybe. I wouldn't put fear around anything. I can think about, and I don't know if you remember this, but we were doing a house blessing and a house reading. And the owner was, or somebody in the house was very afraid there was a shadow that was very small and low to the ground and seemed to be following them. And so they were afraid it was like the devil trying to get them.
Oh, wow.
But when we connected, we found out it was one of their dogs who had passed and just following around the house.
Oh.
I mean, I think the most probable answer is something like that.
Yeah, yeah.
And there are people that just don't make good choices.
True.
Unfortunately, it was a saying as my daughter was growing up, make good choices, you know, and some people just don't have the guidance or the mentorship or good friends or good family to show them good choices. And this is how things happen. So we need to counteract it. With all the goodness, we need to counteract the bad. Right?
I think also
My family always said, like, nobody's born bad. It's your circumstances in life, your choices that you make that can change your demeanor, your life, and however you choose to live that, that's what you're choosing. And right, so you're not born bad.
I think when we talk about people being afraid of spirit or seeing spirit, I think our media plays a big part of that in the movies that are out there, or even the way some of the television shows get edited with all their graphics, which are amazing but scary.
Right.
You know.
I do want to say though, there is something to negative energy. I mean, clearly there's religions that remove negative energy. They believe in the negative energy. They have a religious ritual that allows to release that negative energy from the room or the person that feels attached to. It can happen, but in your mind, if you're asking for the highest good, if you're walking your path as honest as possible, you're not going to invite that negative to keep coming to you or stay with you. And if it is, then there's clearly a message that needs to be heard. And then maybe once that message they have is heard, they can cross. They can go through the physical plane up into the spiritual realm and evolve the way they need to. Sometimes that's all it is. We all vibrate at a certain vibration, and it goes along with all our clairs, whether you see it, because seeing is a vibration, right? Color is a vibration. Sound is a vibration. Everything has vibration, and we all vibrate differently. And if we're really tired, we might vibrate a little lower. If we're really happy and excited, we might vibrate a little higher. And some people don't vibrate as high as you may be. So it's going to feel like you're coming down in energy to meet that person or that entity or energy where they're at. And it doesn't always feel good. And it doesn't always look good either, because you're looking at this vague energy that really just needs to say, I'm sorry, or please forgive me, or I made this mistake, please tell somebody. And what I have found as a clairvoyant is when you listen to that message, they might have been vibrating at a 3, right? And now all of a sudden, because I took that message, they're now vibrating at like a 4 or 5, because you've released what they've needed to say. So we do this buoyancy, right? Like this buoyancy of like our energy really will allow us to come through stronger or lighter too.
Right.
Yeah.
Wow.
So it's incredible.
Yeah.
So I walk into it and I try, we all do, Lisa and I, and including you, we try to meet people where they're at, because I'm not better than anybody. I'm not below anybody. I'm not above anybody. I'm not the smartest person in the room, but I'm not the dumbest person in the room. And when you meet somebody where they're at, you realize maybe what sounds like they're making bad choices is just because they don't have the education to make a better choice, or the information to make a better choice.
Or it might
too.
be a matter of you don't understand fully their circumstance, and when you do, you realize that choice is what they need to make.
Right. So buoyancy helps because you can see that energy shift where you can really listen to that person. That's on that list.
I know being energy side has certainly helped me in my healing practice too, being able to see people's energy.
Right.
Yeah.
Wow.
And it's not just people that have energy, right? All our animals, our trees, you look into Japanese culture where they believe even rocks have souls. That's why you build the rock people, which is a lot of fun when you can get them to all balance out. They believe that it was a soul, and that's their purgatory, or that's their stillness, or that's how they need to be. And that's why they came back in the form of a rock, and that rock was formed. There's a lot of beautiful traditions out there that talk about, just life beyond just a human breath or the animal breath. Because trees breathe, right?
That's
they give
true.
us air.
That's true. Yeah.
They're older than us. They have wisdom. They have seen things that nobody has ever seen.
One of the pieces of clairvoyance we haven't talked about or touched on is being able to capture picture of spirit or energy. You might not be able to see it with your eye, but oftentimes you can capture it on film. And I've done that quite a few times with tree spirits. I actually, and maybe we can put this up in our Patreon or on social media. I do have an actual photo of an elemental that I caught a picture of in Ireland when I was there. It's pretty fascinating. It's really cool to see. And when I was walking through that, the Killarney National Park, being a feeler, I could feel the energy, but wanting to be able to connect and see, maybe I'm not as clairvoyant as to do that. So I started snapping photos, and lo and behold, I caught a picture of this elemental poking his head out of a bush.
Wow.
Yeah, so we'll have to put that up on our social media or on Patreon account, wherever we decided to go. But it's really fascinating to see. It does. It makes people scratch their head like, oh. Yeah, and I've caught tree spirits and things like that on film, and orbs come through, faces and things. You can go to these haunted sites of places, and they'll have people's photographs up, and you'll be able to catch the face in the window. Some people say, well, it's matrixing, which is something your eye does with patterns to form, a face or whatever. But when you get multiple photographs showing the same kind of thing, you have to wonder.
Yeah, I feel like we could do a whole episode just on that.
Yeah. One of the things that recently happened for me, very clairvoyant experience, was I received a picture of ultrasound.
Oh, okay.
And you can see the baby, and right next to the baby, you can see the eyes, the face, the lips, and the nose, and it looks like a baby cheetah looking over the baby.
Wow.
Which, in Native tradition and other traditions, it is said that we all walk with not only an angel that watches over us, but an animal will watch over us. And so I firmly believe that cheetah is going to be this baby's totem
Very cool.
because it's very clear. And
That's cool.
I will see if I can get permission for us to post that up on maybe if I just take the names and stuff out of it, where you can clearly see the markings of the baby cheetah. It's so cool.
Pretty amazing.
It's so
Yeah,
cool.
pretty amazing.
And I brought it to the attention of the mother, and it just like brought tears to her eyes, because I think as parents, especially first time parents, we all want to know our children are being watched over for sure. You know, so having a baby cheetah is pretty protective.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
I can imagine. Wow, that's pretty cool. So regarding clairvoyance, we actually have some questions. So we want to take this part to be about open Q&A. We have some questions here about clairvoyance, and we could shed some light on answers. Well, we talked about clairvoyance. We talked about how it works. Let's see.
How can you strengthen it, maybe?
Yeah, maybe we could discuss that. Yeah, how to strengthen it.
So part of what Heather and I do in our classes, in our mentorship, is to work with people to develop or strengthen their clairvoyant ability, whether it's your strongest clair or not. And there's a way to kind of determine that we go through. But there's different things that you can do and activities you could do to strengthen that whole ability. I would start first with keeping a dream journal.
That's a good idea.
And willing yourself to dream and remember them, and start with that.
That takes a lot of work, though. You have to train your body to be able to roll over and either hit a record button and you just blurt it out and listen to it in the morning, or you literally train yourself to be able to grab a pen and write that down.
Right.
Because normally when you wake up, if you don't grab that message in that hypnagogia state, right, where you're fully awake to where you're still kind of in dream state, you're not going to remember what they said. So,
right.
But it's a great place to start. If you've wanted to see auras and auric vision, there's certain eye exercises you can do to kind of train your brain, so to speak, on seeing color where there typically isn't. And those, it's hard to explain through words without actual the exercise in front of you. To strengthen clairvoyance. I mean, we do an activity too, just of memory, to gather as much detail. I think it's just asking for the help. So I think becoming more aware of symbols around you is a great place to start. These are all the lead-ins to then possibly seeing spirit. And if you want the skill of clairvoyance, and I remember early on in the relationship with Heather and I thought, well, that'd be really cool to be clairvoyant. You know, maybe that's the skill I would love to really develop more. And so I started asking for more clairvoyant activities and more clairvoyant experiences and activities. And I remember I was talking with my husband. We were sitting there, and all of a sudden, smoke just started undulating out of me and around. And I'm like, my initial reaction was, what the F is that? And
am I on
like,
fire?
I'm like, because my husband and I, we're not smokers. There's no candle on. Where's the smoke coming? My husband's looking at it, and I remember I remember texting Heather. I'm like, what the heck is this?
Yeah, not
you know, I
spontaneous
talked to her about it. She
impression.
goes, well, you asked to be more clairvoyant, spirit showing itself to you. And I'm like, yeah, you know what? I don't need to see that. I'm fine with just feeling and knowing. Sometimes we're not meant to, and the auric sight's fine. You know,
Right.
sometimes, you know, the gifts that we have. Yeah, so if clairvoyance is something that you feel you've had that experience, start being hyper aware of symbols and signs that are happening around you. Look at clouds.
Look at
formation.
There you go,
clouds.
yeah.
Yeah.
Start trying to see pictures. You know.
Are the abilities always on? This is a great question.
This is a great
Another question from
Yeah.
sent in to us. Okay.
Yeah.
Are they for me?
Yes.
They're always on. Yes. It's a
Always.
matter of being able to have a boundary of whether you decide to use it or recognize it. There must be a part 2 to that. Like, is it always on and does it bother you?
Oh, yes.
That would be the next
Yes.
part I think I would
Yeah.
ask.
Yeah, it's a good follow-up question to that.
As far as it always being on, yes. You have to create boundaries. You have to create borders. You have to create, this is when I'm on and this is when I'm not on. One of the things that Lisa and pry ourselves on is when we're teaching a class, everybody comes into that classroom with their spirit guides or their loved ones or their animals, and We're going to see it, hear it, feel it, whatever's going to happen. But our job at that moment is not to be the clairvoyant or the psychic. Our job is to teach you how to do this.
Right.
So you kind of put it into the background. As a parent, I equate it to this way, and I'm sorry, Marcella, if you're listening. But like when Marcella was a little girl, she used to be in the back seat and she would just talk, 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 talk. She talked from the minute she woke up to the minute she fell asleep. And so at some point when you're driving, you just tune it out, right? It's background noise until obviously she's yelling at me, Mom, like, Mom. And you're like, oh, sorry, honey. But like, you have to just put it behind the scenes. Like, you have to just kind of let it be in the background.
All the mothers out there will understand it. When we say the mom or Chris, the dad over there, dad, and or mom, and it's tuned out until you have that time, or not that time, but you take that moment to recognize the child or whatever, and then all of a sudden you hear or feel or see everything they want you to see, right?
Right.
It's like, remember, my daughter with gymnastics, watch this, Mom, watch this. Chris is shaking his head. He must get this with his kids. Watch it. And he's cracking me up over there because he's so hot and I want to turn that air conditioner on him, but, sorry. But, watch this. And like, you're busy doing something. And until you take that moment to look up and see it,
Yeah.
that's when it happens. It's sort of
Right.
with your gifts. But I want to say, because we firmly believe everybody has gifts. And so the next question might be, well, if it's always on, why am I not always psychic then? And I think the reality of our life and society is, if we're such a go society here in America, in a lot of Western worlds, right, that we're so hyper focused on the next thing we need to do, that we're not taking that moment to be more aware of what is our inner self is saying or what the guys around us are showing us. And because this is our job, right? Part of our livelihood, we take those moments. It's just part of what we do and how we conduct our life. So for you, Brian, I mean, is it always on for you?
I feel like it depends. I agree with you. If I'm slowing down and not always go, then it comes more easily. That like I will get the signs and messages, but if I'm distracted by whatever else is going on, then no, I'm gonna be kind of tuning it out in a way, keeping it in the background.
Yeah.
But it does come. Actually, it like every single night when I'm going to sleep, that's when it's like right there, and it's so easy to get the messages there.
And that happens because you're relaxed.
Right.
You're not
Yeah.
overthinking. You don't have to
Right.
take the dog out. You don't have to
Yeah.
do the dishes. You don't have to. You just need to go to sleep at this moment.
Right.
So
right.
that's when they're like, oh, yeah, here we come. We got lots to tell you or show you,
Yeah.
and they get really excited.
You
Yeah.
said the right word, relax. One of the
Yes.
first things we do with our students when we do the connection piece with our mentees and our mentorship, when we do any kind of connecting or having them practice reading, is what do we say first thing? Relax your body. And you can't really be a good channel for messaging if you're not relaxed.
Right.
But you're also, when you're in a reading, if you come in and you're all that tense, like you're all tensed up and you're trying to like not let us feel or see or hear any of what's going on, it makes doing a reading very hard because there
That's
is information on the internet that says, don't tell them anything.
Right.
Don't give them any body cues or facial cues. Don't give them any information. I'm not a mind reader.
Right.
I need to talk this out with you because they're not my memories. So what I'm seeing is your memory. And it just, you need to just kind of relax because once you relax, your body system, your blood pressure comes back down. Everything just is calm. And then that's when the energy can start ebb and flowing again. But we've been in readings where people cross their arms and cross their legs and they stare at you with this grim look. And you're like, whoa, this is supposed to be fun.
Yeah. Wow.
Like, I'm sorry,
Yeah.
but so it's important to relax all of your ears, your jaw, your torso, the trunk of your torso, and just like your hips, and let the energies just kind of go from the floor back up to the it makes things a lot more fluent. And I think anybody here can say when they've been in a conversation when someone's really stressed out, you can feel,
Yes.
and some people can even see that like little wall that's actually there because they're just so nervous or whatever, right?
Right. Right.
So it's a matter of dropping some of that tenseness. And so that's why spirit comes so easily when we're about to go to sleep,
Right.
because we're not thinking about all the million things we have to do.
Right. Exactly. You just had that one thing that you're doing. You're sleeping.
That's right.
That's it.
That's right.
And that goes
That
with
makes
anything
sense.
psychic, not just clairvoyant.
True.
So, yeah. So, we ready to do
Pull our affirmation.
Yeah, so we're going to do our affirmations. So those are some great answers to some questions. And if any of the listeners or viewers have any other questions, you can email us at readytoconnectpodcast@gmail.com, or you can find us on social media just by looking up Ready to Connect Podcast. So we have Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, all the above.
all the stuff.
Yeah. So, but yeah, we could pull an affirmation and see what we get today.
So again,
So-
the affirmations are a way to kind of manifest what's best part of your day, life going forward. So when you read them as if you're already embodying that. It's already happening for you. And if any of these affirmations seem to strike you in your heart for the day or the week going forward, definitely take it in. So go ahead, Heather.
All
Grab one.
right. I'm going to grab one.
Putting you on the spot.
What do I got? I don't remember. It says, celebrating life with family and friends is enjoyable. We laugh often and express our gratitude for many blessings in our lives. Absolutely.
That's a good one.
Absolutely.
I love the one I got. I love this one. I always find time to be creative. That fills my spirit with joy, and that couldn't be more true.
That couldn't be
Yeah.
more true.
Yeah.
Same with mine.
Yeah.
I love being with my friends and my family, just creating memories.
Yeah, absolutely.
Gotta find time to get my art space today.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you have, Ryan?
So I have remember to give thanks for everything, and you will be returned many blessings.
Yes.
That's true. That's
Gratitude,
true.
baby.
Absolutely.
Gratitude.
Yeah.
Is there anything else on that list that we wrote out about clairvoyancy that you'd like to follow up with?
Let's see. Well, we have remote viewing.
Oh, we
That's
didn't
a major.
touch
I
that.
feel like that's a.
That
that's a
could
big
actually
topic.
be a podcast. So stay tuned
Yeah.
for that later on.
Yeah.
Maybe put that
We'll
on
put a
Patreon.
podcast. Yeah, we'll put that in Patreon. We'll put something together so everybody can kind of hear about remote viewing,
Yeah.
because it's done not only with psychics, but it's also done in the military
Yes.
and many other programs. So that would be a great. So stay tuned for that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely. And okay.
All set?
Yeah, I think so.
Alright.
Do you want to say?
So we'll just ask the listeners and viewers to get ready to connect with us on our next episode, where we'll be discussing clairsentience, or clear feeling, and how psychics can feel spirit. So until then, I'm Lisa.
I'm Ryan.
And I'm Heather. And we are Let's Get Ready to Connect.
Thank you for tuning in to Ready to Connect. If you're interested in exclusive behind-the-scenes content, be sure to like, share, and follow us on social media by searching for Ready to Connect Podcast on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. And for those looking to further support our podcast, consider subscribing to our Patreon at patreon.com/readytoconnectpodcast. And until next time, get ready to connect.